All right, art students, welcome back to the drawing table and Facebook friends, because I just posted a post in Facebook leading people to my YouTube channel where I will be finishing this. I posted to YouTube, or I posted to Facebook before I finished this because I was posting in reverse. All right, so what we're going to do here is finish this, and we're going to talk about creating or starting a comic, creating a comic, stuff to do with comics that you might run into that you don't know about, things that I have run into already that I didn't know about, but now I know. So this basically is going to be kind of like a sit down and watch me draw as I talk to you guys about the process that I've been running into, or the problems that I've been running into, the just everything about doing your own comic book. So I've got a list over here of stuff that I'm going to talk about, and hopefully I can draw and talk at the same time. So let me add a little bit more light to the area. And here we go. So the first thing is going to be the idea. What are the ideas that you have, or are you going to, do you have an original idea? And speaking of originality, there's a saying that there's nothing new under the sun, and it is really true that there is nothing new under the sun. It's just that we take those existing things and we kind of put a twist on them. Like a fork, how long have people been using forks and spoons? And they haven't really changed, just the handles or the size of the spoon itself. So let me get into Animal Corp. If you don't know what this is and why I'm doing this is my book. It's entitled Animal Corp. And it is running now, which I left a link to. And the story is about a group of aliens that came to Earth because there was something in the Earth that they wanted, that man had basically pretty much almost destroyed it. So it was like planting a corn and people running through your cornfield, and then the farmer comes back and he finds, let's just say people, let's just say rats running through the cornfield. And the farmer comes back to get the corn, and he saw that they'd been trampled and eaten by rats. What is he going to do? He's going to get rid of the rats. So basically, that's what happens in the story. And over 90% of the humans are wiped out, and we have like about 100,000 left, give or take. So they were gathered in one place, and the head, Professor Kenner, of a robot, is more of a research android research laboratory, more of a android research laboratory. I get tongue tied. So he decided to freeze everybody except himself, so that he could be the only human left for the aliens to kind of like follow or chase, while the others stay safe. But they only had like 1 year of, say, material to keep these humans frozen. So the professor knew that he needed soldiers to protect him and to go on to the mission. Watch the video, it explains it a little better. So he created the Animal Corps, and it was an experimental thing. So he used his pet, Duke, which was the last of his family. So it was really emotional for him. And I read a comment in Facebook today saying, after seeing the video and hearing what it was about, he was on the side of the aliens, that all humans should be wiped out if we could do something like that. And I wrote back to him and said, if your family was in trouble, or was about to be killed, let's just say by thieves or burglars or whatever, and you had a dog, would you hide the dog in the closet and let your family get killed? Or would you use your dog as your first line of defense? And saying, and no, you have no gun in the house. So I don't know if the guy he just loved his dog so much, or he was an animal activist. But even if you loved your dog that much, that makes it more harder for you to make that decision to test your dog, because you're trying to save what's left of humanity. So yeah, thank you for that comment, which was really good. So hopefully people will see and understand the hardship that this guy had to go through, Professor Kenner, to use his dog as an experiment. So yeah, that's the thing. So all right, so idea, as I said, there's no real ideas under the sun. You just take ideas and you just kind of use them, mold them. I have pens right here, so I'm reaching over here and half I'm done work. I've just got to buy some new ones. You just have to take an existing idea like the spoon and just add something to it. Like when I first thought of this, doing this, the whole animal thing, I thought of RoboCop. That was the first thing I thought of, was RoboCop. But then I put a twist to it. It wasn't a human. They were animals, because there are no more humans or no more soldiers left, because all the soldiers died in the battle to protect, because the attack was so quick that they really didn't have time to just do what they had to do, to launch that kind of attack to save mankind. And it was just quick. It was a 3-day attack, and we're at 1, 2, 3. Got to keep that up, right? 1, 2, 3. It was such a quick attack that man was not prepared for it. So yeah, out of desperation, he created these animals as the Animal Corp. So basically, that's the story. So go check it out. The site, I'll leave the link to the site. It's live now. Idea, like I said, you have to take an idea and you have to change it around to make it more creative for the reader, so that they will want to read your story. As I say, if I pause a little bit, sometimes it's because it's like chewing gum and drawing at the same time. So, okay, materials. All right, let's go, jump back to the story. You have your idea. You have to work that out. You have to, and this is just you. This is just being you saying, I want to start a comic book. You have to have your characters. You have to have your background to the characters, like Bruce Wayne, billionaire's son, or were they billionaires or were they millionaires back then? Son, and the parents were killed, so he decided to become a vigilante and save his city, which he loved so much. So all that background stuff you have to know with your characters when you create your character, because it'll come up one day, or you'll have to explain it somehow, sometime, some way. All right, so you got your idea. Okay, now, how long I think I'm jumping ahead, but when you write your story, how long is that story going to last? Is it going to be like one title? Is it going to be, 20 issues? Is it going to be ongoing? Like, was it One Piece? Luffy? I was looking at it with my daughter, and she was like, they're over like 1,000 issues, 1,000 issues right now. I'm like, man, that's good money for that guy, the creator. But how long do you plan on keeping it going? How long do you plan on keeping and I keep looking at my monitor instead of just keep drawing. How long do you plan on letting your book run for? And no, this is not going to be perfect, especially when drawing circles. But the rhinoceros is the battleship of the group. I would say the bull would be the tank and the rhinoceros would be the battleship. And there are 9 animals. There's a bear, a tiger, lion, the German shepherd, which is the leader, Duke, that was the professor's pet, gorilla, bull, rhinoceros, fox, and wolf. And the whole thing was the fact that I need to draw the wristbands on him. They wanted some fierce animals to be able to handle the aliens. All right, so I had to cut this for a second to actually look over to see how much I did not pencil and how much I'm going to have to pencil, because in drawing, you have to keep your drawing round. You have to keep your figures round. So I'm not going to talk about that anymore. I'm going to continue to talk about you wanting to do a story. So in a story, I think there were 5. I took a writing class a long time ago just to get it right. There are the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why. And if you can answer all of those questions, then you have a good story. And then I think the plots are always the 3: man versus man, which was me fighting my neighbor; man versus nature, which is me going outside and getting, lost in the mountains when it's snowing; and man versus itself. And I believe that would be mentally or physically. Like if I lost my legs, now I have to deal with life, without 2 legs, or I'm going crazy. I have to deal with that kind of thing. So yeah, those are the 3 outline or plots that you would do when you have a story. So this is kind of like Man versus Man, but with a twist to it, Man versus Alien. And I want to say they said like Man versus Society, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not really sure about that. So the next one would be time. Time. And time is a big thing for everybody to do anything, because I am now 62 years old. And I have done a lot of artistic stuff, but because of marriages and kids and jobs, how much time will you have to do this? This is you answering the question, do I have time to actually work on a comic book? Are you married? Do you have a bunch of kids? All right, I had an abrupt cut in the video because my camera stopped. One day I'm going to be able to afford the good cameras like the big boys. So as I was saying, time-wise, are you working 2 jobs? Are you working overtime? Is something that's going to take away your time for you to actually go out and finish your comic book? Because if it takes forever to do a comic, even if it's just the greatest thing in the world for the first one, if it takes like a year to get the second one out, nobody's going to remember you and your book. So it's a waste of time. So think about that before you say, oh, okay, I want to do this comic book and I'm going to make it, this great. Like I say, you could have a great story. You might. All right. So next thing is your skill level. How skilled are you at doing the things that it takes to make this comic book? Are you an artist, writer, inker, colorer, all of that at the same time? Or are you just a writer? Can you just only write? You don't know how to do the rest. That's something else you have to think about. One thing that can really help is your reference, by just getting as much reference as you can to like an office building. If you have somebody that's going to be in the office all the time, get as many office buildings and then take apart things that you like and that you need. And the rest of them, just leave it be. Leave it be. You're going to have to learn. I don't know if you're a beginner. If you're a beginner artist, if you just started to learn how to draw and don't know your perspective and your anatomy and stuff like that, I would not think about doing that yet. I would do something like a comic strip first, just for you. Not say, oh, I'm going to do this and show the world. Do it for you so that you can see your own self, see where you need to improve at, see what you need to do, what you don't need to do, where your strengths are. And then after you get to the point where you say, okay, this is looking good, then start working on a comic book. Because if you can do a comic strip, and if you can pace your story, and if you're good at doing things like, what am I trying to say? Doing the panel to panel work, then you realize you can probably get away with it. But again, the big thing is time. The big upscale. I'm not sure even what I'm saying with that word. But the big thing for you is going to be time. Do you have time to actually put a book out? All right. So help. Okay, if you can't do it all by yourself, then you're going to need help, which is going to lead to the next one. But as far as help, there are people out there like Fiverr. I've used Fiverr for a couple things that I needed in my book to save time. And because they were probably a little better at it than me, but majority of it was to save time. So if you can't find a particular person, there are things set up that you can use to help you with getting a couple things done. And I'm using it as 0.005 right off the bat, because I like the point. It's nice and sharp. So I'm using that. And then I'll come back later and do some line weight to bring it out more. And I'm kind of like looking at, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What's the next part? That's why you should always do a complete work of art. I tell people, don't start this and then work on the face. Oh, the face looks good. And then you run into a problem and you get mad and you throw yourself away. That's a beginner, or should I say, that's like a rookie move when you do stuff like that and you start throwing your art away because you moved a little too fast. Get it all down first, then you can move forward. And I've got so many lines. This actually goes through there. All right, so help. As I said, I use Fiverr. If you can't do it all, that's going to lead to the next thing, and that would be money. Money, it costs a lot of money to do a book. It's just like any business. You try to start a business, it's going to cost money to run that business, whether you are doing it by yourself. The more people you have, the more money it's going to cost. So try to learn as much on your own as possible so that you can save money, basically. So these are androids. These are not the animal bodies. Basically, as I say, think about like RoboCop. They took what they needed from the animal to keep them basically alive and kicking, and they put them in this android body, and with the animal instincts and so forth, like times 100. Their their instincts, their smell, their feelings times 100, and plus the strength of the android body. They are unstoppable machines. Okay, we talked about money. It costs a lot of money to do this thing. I remember one of the colorists I used for the Samurai Clown, which was, thank God for him. How much? I want to say it was like $500 to color the book, and usually some artists will charge you $100 per page, but this guy was good and he charged like $500, and that's $500 out of your pocket right before you even get the book published. And that's another thing, publishing and so forth. But if you can't draw it yourself, if you can't color it yourself, if you can't do the letters yourself, anything you have to hire somebody to do, it's going to cost you money. And who's to say that your book is going to take off and become noteworthy of anything? So this guy, he has a knife, but I put a gun on him as well. Which I just messed that up, but thank God for whiteout. That's what I said about drawing and trying to talk. All right, so money. Yeah, if you look it up, like I said, Fiverr is someplace that I've been. I went on to, what was it called? There's a bunch of Freelancer, I think it's Freelancer. There's a bunch of different sites that you can go on to get help from, and I think it's the cheapest. Fiverr to me have been the cheapest, but the thing is, you want to, and I'll get into that promoting in a minute. There's help out there for you if you need that kind of help. So don't think that you can't, especially if it's in your heart to do this. Which leads me to the next point, which is love. How much do you love what you're doing? Some people, have that passion, that drive, and they're like, I got to do this regardless. And that has always been my thing. It's like, I got to do this. I told my first wife, I said, I have to do this with or without you. This is something that I felt I had a calling to do, and I had to do it. I have to do this. If I don't become the next Jim Lee or the next Stan Lee or whatever, at least I can say, I gave it my best shot. So the love, you got to find out how much love do you have for this thing that you want to do. I'm tired at night when I get home because my job is 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I get maybe like 3 hours of sleep. On a good day, I might get 4 hours of sleep, and that's every night. So when I come home, it's hard to create, it's hard to draw, but because I love it so much, I have to do it. I have to get it out. If I don't do something every day, I feel bad. It's like at the end of the day, going to bed early, like at 8 o'clock. Who goes to bed at 8 o'clock? You know, I have to say to myself, okay, what did I do? What did I get done today? Was I able to do this? Was I able to do that? And that's that love for it. So yeah, there are days when I do not want to draw, but I have to do something. If I draw an eye or a hand or something, at least I can say I drew. So you got to have that love for it, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Yes, and when I ink, I turn my page, because inking should be pulling the pen, not pushing it. So if you can turn your page just to push it a little bit or pull it a little bit, you should do that. That makes for a better line, especially if you're doing a brush artists know. They know. Okay, what were we talking? We're talking about the love of doing this kind of thing. I got my little notes here on the side. You just can't see it. Yeah, if you love it, you won't let anything get in the way. I mean, you might have your kids and your wife, and I've known a couple of people who started this comic journey and got married, and the wife was like, comic books? You're not doing no comic books, you know, and they just beat them down so much that they just gave up. So yeah, try not to get into that. Not habit. Not to get in that situation. You know, your partner should be a partner, not, you know, love you for your money or whatever, and then turn around and try to tell you, no, you're not going to be able to do this. They should always have your back, regardless, you know, unless it's just tearing your family apart. Unless you get, you know, you're selling drugs or whatever, then, you know, your partner should say, okay, I knew that you loved comics before we got married or before we got together, and I know that your joy is comics, so I'm going to allow you to do that and help you any way that I can, which is what should be happening with partners. All right, so next thing is competition. Competition, I'm going to stop drawing for a second just to talk about competition. If I'm drawing a comic book and you're drawing a comic book and my neighbor's drawing a comic book, which comic book is out there that's going to sell? So you got to understand, you're going to have this incredible book that's either going to be able to compete or knock out the competition. Because if you are selling water to families that live in the rainforest, you're not going to make too much money. So that's one of the things you have to think about when you draw this book. Will this thing be so good that people will just sit up and bark? And I've worked for a couple of people that just wanted to do a story for like their grandkids, you know, and that's fine. But if you're trying to make money off of doing this, you have to know and believe, and just that this thing is going to work. This thing is going to sell. This thing is better than crushed peanuts, that we can make a thing we'll call peanut butter out of it. So yeah, because and it's a thing, I started putting my stuff on Facebook, and for years I've just drawn and like, oh, okay, that looks good, and I put it up. I really never showed it to anybody, maybe because I never thought about, you know, these art sites, or I didn't know about these art sites, or I didn't care what people thought about it. I didn't need your I can't think of the word, on my I didn't need your, for my art. You know, I do my art because I love my art. I don't need you to like, oh, it looks this or this or that or that. And so I had no real desire to actually put it up. But now, in order to get what I need, you have to advertise, and that's going to be the next one after competition. But you have to be prepared to do what it takes to make your book stand out. Again, it depends on what you want with your book? Are you just doing this for yourself? Are you doing this for your family? Are you trying to make money off of this book? What are you trying to do with it? So, okay, this hand is going to be here. The palm is going to be right there. 1, 2, 3. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, it just didn't look right at that point. The gun is just something I just came up with some crazy design for it. All right, advertising. Once you get your book drawn, once you get it colored, once you get it inked, if you don't get it colored, I'm going back to competition. If your book is not colored and my book is colored, of course mine is going to stand out in the promotions more than yours will. So that's something else you want to think about. But for I think the first 5 or 6 Samurai Clown books I had, they weren't colored. I had to learn Photoshop. It was like roughly learning Photoshop, and my friend, he kept getting on me about, oh, Photoshop, you need Photoshop. And I'm like, man, I don't need no Photoshop. But you know, he was right. I did need Photoshop. It was just, you know, either color that or use color pencils or watercolors, because I actually thought about color pencils or watercolors. You know, that's old school. But he was like, no, you need Photoshop. And so I forced myself to learn Photoshop, and I colored my first covers, and the rest was just black and white. It was black and white book. Okay, as I was saying, advertising. If you go to anybody and say advertising, the first thing they'll say is social media. You need, you know, to post this on social media as much as you can. I have joined, I don't know how many comic sites or your comic book sites so I can show people what I'm doing. But again, I'll go back to what I said before, competition. If you post your comic book art on a comic book art site, you have so many other people there showing off their work. So yours has to stand out more than everybody else's. So, but one thing I say, be yourself. Don't really worry about what other people think or say or do. Be yourself, because the criticism, I think that's the word I was looking for. Criticism is the worst thing. I know a guy who we talk every now and then, and he was talking about the people trolling him and talking about how his art looks like crap. The man is a good artist in some cases, and some things, you know, he's got over me in some ways. His art is, in some things, I'm not trying to blow your head up now, but you got me in a couple things. But people are trolling him, and he's constantly stressing over that. And I tell him, man, stop worrying about what people think about your art. You know what you are. You know what you can do. So don't worry about what people say about your art, because you know your goal. You know your passion. Do not worry about those people, because you don't know what those people, they could be living in their mama's basement. They could be failed artists. They might not be able to draw. They might have been criticized as a kid and their parents stopped letting them draw, so they want to attack other artists. You don't know how people will react to your art. But just, you know, if they comment, say thank you and move on, or don't even comment, because if you fuel the fire will continue to burn. So if I write you and I keep talking about your art and you fire back at me, that's going to give me something else to fire back at you. So just don't even comment if somebody is talking bad about your art or your work. That's the best advice I have for artists, because you can't please everybody. You cannot please everybody. You're not going to be able to please everybody. So don't even try. So one thing I don't like is rulers, because if you mess up with a ruler, oh, you through. You are through, my friend. You are through. But it's just something you have to do when you draw, especially in perspective. And there was another comment. Somebody said, I want to draw, but my anatomy just was terrible. And one of the comments at the top of the page, from when I saw it, it said, he said, "What can I do?" And the guy had wrote, "Well, Brian Proctor has a YouTube channel, and I want to thank you. Your name will probably be here if I can find it again and post. I want to thank you for that, because that was one of the greatest things that I have heard in a couple of weeks. Somebody to actually just say, hey, go check out this guy's channel, because his stuff is just tight." So yeah, thank you. You know who you are. If you're seeing this, thank you so much for that. Made me feel good. I'll post your name up. Post your name up. It should be up there. Okay, so what did we cover? Now, I'm going to talk about this, just what I'm doing right now. This is, like I said, this is a point. This is a 005 materials. I skipped over materials. That was going to be the second point. Materials, what you need to get started. To get started, let's just say you're practicing. If you're practicing, just get you some paper and a pencil practice. But when you're going to do a comic book, you're going to need pencil and eraser. I would get a light pencil, HB or H2, and if you don't know what that is, it's a, where is it? Each pencil has a different hardness to it. Let's see if I can do this. That's an old one, H2. Each pencil has a different hardness to it, which makes it darker. If you take a school pencil, or a mechanical pencil, yeah, I got an old mechanical pencil, and you write it there versus an H2 pencil, it's going to be a lot lighter. And that's what you want, because when it's time to erase, you want to be able to erase, versus something like this. If you're one of the people that bear down when you draw, it's going to be hard to erase. And if your finger keeps sliding over it, especially if you're doing shading, it's going to smudge, and it's going to be on your finger. And every time you put your finger down, you're going to, when you draw, you're guiding your pencil, you're drawing, you're going to have all that smudges. So you want to invest. You have to invest. If you want to do this right, you have to invest in yourself. Lay off of the $300 tennis shoes for now and so forth. If somebody said, oh, the holiday's coming, what would you like? Hey, get me some pencils, get me some pens, get me some, I want to do a comic book. If you're old enough to buy your own stuff, then yeah, buy it. So this is going to be in here, and this is going to be black anyway. So as I said, I start out with this, and then I'll go to maybe a 1 or 5 to give some thicker line art. I'm seeing if there's anything else I need to do on this guy before I go back and get some thicker line art. And then I'll come back with maybe a brush tip or just a fat pen to do my shadows. So, okay, let's go back to, what was the last one? Advertising. We're still on advertising or promoting your book. Another thing is, if you can join with somebody else who already has a book to help you, because I talked to Brian Bradley not too long ago to put in, he asked me, he said, look, I'm putting out a book. Would you like me to put an advertisement for your books in my book? And that is collaborating. And I said, sure, do that for me. And I told him, send me a book and I will show it to people on my YouTube channel. So this is the book that my advertisement is in. This is number 26, Kingdom Comic Presents. Now, I don't know if that's what he meant to do, but I want to say, Brian, it presents what? Is there a title to this? Or is this just Kingdom Comics Presents? I don't know. But one of my favorite pages, I'm not going to show you a bunch of his stuff because you have to buy the book. I like this page. I like what the colors did with this page. This is nice. Kingdom Comics. And he also had it printed on Kablam. And let's see, where's my, where do you put my advertisement? It's for my 360 book. It is my 360 book right here. So yeah, he advertised that full page for that. And the full page, it was $100. Okay, now, like I said, advertisement is not cheap. You can get a full page, half a page, quarter page. He makes it reasonable. So find somebody with that's willing to help, or you can help them. And that's something that I'm going to start doing for people that have comic books, because if they don't know you have a book, then what's the purpose of even doing the book? You can put it on Kablam, which goes to Indie Planet, but as I said, you trying to sell water to somebody that lives in a rainforest. It just doesn't. It's not going to sell too much. So it has to get out there. So the more places people can see it, the more likely you'll have so it can take off. So I'm going to start advertising people's books in my comics as well. Just sign up to the email or the newsletter, and I'll leave that link on there. That way I can contact you when my next book is going out and ask you, would you like to reserve some space in my next book? And once my website is up, I think I might start doing that as well, putting up some small ads about your books or your art, which is something else I want to do on my channel, just kind of like feature other artists and their art. Not just talk about their books, but just feature your art on my channel to help you get out, because nobody else is doing that, and that's the thing. And I don't like talking bad about other channels or whatever, and it's not going to be a bad thing I'm talking about, but we as artists are selfish. We don't want to help other artists because of that whole competition thing. But I'm not going to say I'm not in it for the money. Of course, I would love to do the money because I'm pre-retiring. I could actually retire. Get this pencil out of here. I could retire tomorrow if I chose to, but I'm trying to get some things together before I stop. But when I retire, I want to work on my book, my YouTube channel full time. So, but as I said, I want to make sure things are right because I don't want to retire and go to work the next day. So, where was I going? Because I lost my train of thought when I talked about retiring. Advertising. Yeah, people don't help you to advertise. They're more like how to draw an apple. And it's not they're showing you how to draw an apple, that they're showing you how they draw an apple. And, so many people have written me and saying, this is the first channel that actually teach you how to draw, because I want you to learn how to draw, not just show off my skills. I want you to show off your skills eventually. So that is why I always try to teach people how to do versus just, oh, look at how beautiful, look at this apple, it's so shiny. You can't draw like this, but I can draw like this, because I want you guys to be able to do as well. That's the basis of my channel. Actually teaching you guys how to draw something as best I can. I'm not gonna say I'm the drawing guru, but what I have learned through trial and error, I can teach you so you won't make that many errors. As far as retiring and doing my own thing, I had a valid point that I was going to use, but I forgot that quick. Retiring and doing my own thing. Something about having to be committed. Yes, commitment. I think was commitment in one of those. It was competition. I thought I had commitment in one of those things. Because if you don't have to get out of bed in the morning, that's one reason that's where I was going. That's one reason I didn't want to do Marvel or DC. I tried in the beginning, but they kept, nitpicking. And I guess my worst fear would be deadlines, because that's how you lose your job quickly if you don't meet their deadlines, because that's their book. There's like any job, you have to get up, you have to be on job at the right time. You have to work hard. You have to show that you want to keep the job. You have to not call in, all these days because if the weather's bad or you don't feel like driving or kids are sick or whatever. That's how you keep a job. So it's just something that you have to do. But when you are your own boss, you can lay in bed all day. You can draw for an hour. You can whatever. But how fast are you going to get your stuff out? So you got to have that line of commitment. And when you are on your third book and you just, your hands are cramping, and like mine are, because I've been clicking all day trying to send out posts. You say, oh, I want to stop. You can, but again, you are your own boss. You make your own profits. You decide when and where. And that's something that I want. So that's a reason why I didn't try to pursue DC and Marvel. And if they said, hey, Brian, would you like to work? I heard you're retiring. Would you like to work for us? I would have to give that some thought. I mean, most people would be like, yeah, you fool, take it. But I'm not gonna lie to you. That whole deadline thing just, it's not me. So yeah, if you're doing your own book, you are your own boss. You are the employees. You are the this. You are the promoter, the advertiser, the whatever else that you are it. So you have to have that commitment to do these things. So he's hiding behind a wall because the aliens are on the other side of the wall. And he's kind of sneaking around because he's a big rhinoceros, you know. Background, I kind of like drawing destroy background because you don't have to be so with your lines. You can just whatever because it's just destroyed background. Nobody, well, some people might, but you know, some people won't. Judge you. And as I said, don't worry about what people say because they don't know your compassion. They don't know your goal. They don't. Do you? Make sure I'm keeping this on thing. So yeah, back to comic books. Can you make a living off of comic books? I think if you get the right niche, that's another thing. When you who are you advertising to? You know, what age, what group, what you know, I don't even want to say ethnicity, but subject. Are you doing superheroes? Are you doing mysteries? Are you doing westerns? What are you doing? You have to be able to do something that catches right on time. Because I had a friend who does like a lot of analyzing, and he said that every year something else comes around, and he says right now the superhero trend is about to die off. Because if you think about it, you have your horror movies. At one time, all your horror movies come, and then another time you have all your science fiction stuff come, and then another time you have all your soldiers, your army stuff come. Then you have your mysteries. Then you have your comedies and musicals. I haven't seen musicals in a minute, so I'm thinking they have to come around sometime. But I don't know if this generation would even get into a musical. So this new generation would get into a musical. But according to him and his research, the superheroes are kind of like dying out because they're everywhere and they're all just Superman knockoffs. If you're going to come up with a hero, you need to come up with something that is original and just different. That's what I'm saying. Every story is basically used already. So unless you can come up with something completely different, which I don't know if that's possible, which it should be, but you just have to think hard on something that is really, really different. All right, so I'm going to make him stand out because he is the rhino. He's got the thickest armor. So I'm going to outline him with this F pen. This is a Faber-Castell. I call it say Castell. I don't know how they would say it. But the thing is, half the time, most of my pens sit there and they don't write. So never buy pens unless you really need them. Okay, this is an 8. It's a little thick for me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to speed this part up for time's sake. All right, so here we are with the thick outline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and color everything that is supposed to be black, and then going to add some shadow. Now, the secret to shadow is finding out where your light source is coming from. So since he's behind a wall, I was going to have the light right here, but since he's behind a wall, then the light is going to have to come from this direction here and light up this area here. Now, if you can find a great color, so if you know how to color, color can save so much bad art because Yeah, because they can make it pop. So what I'm going to do here is I'm looking at that arm, and I knew that arm was too crunched up, but I mean it's there now. It's there now. Yeah, I'm going to color in the part that I know is black, and I'm going to use a brush, a little brush. I bought these. This is a concept. These brushes here. Where's the camera? Which are pretty good. They have a fairly good point to them, and they last for a second. So we're going to speed this up, and I'm going to do that, and I'll come back in another second. All right, so now that I have my blacks settled, I'm going to start adding some, I guess you would call light and shadow, and maybe some reflections to it. And as I said, it all depends on which way the light is coming for this. I missed the black. So the reason why there's black, there are the armor. There's black under the armor. Think about the stormtroopers on Star Wars. That's the part that actually allows you to move, you know, the harder part. But what was I gonna say? The armor is actually, I was gonna say something. I don't know why. I'm thinking about breakfast. I'm thinking about what I want for breakfast. The they all wear I'm pointing at my screen. You can't see that. They all wear a body suit over top of their metal, and that helps to absorb the impact of the aliens' weapons. The only ones that don't have sleeves are the bull and the rhinoceros, because they are more armored than the rest. Everybody else, it's just one complete bodysuit, black bodysuit. And then they put their vest and so forth, pants and so forth over top of it. And you might say, well, Brian, why would they wear pants and so forth? Because this is what soldiers wear, and this is what the people designed for them to wear. So yeah, they could just go running around in armor, but I decided to give it more of that soldier feel to it and do it that way. So I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to make some more corrections and speed this up, and you can see some of it go down. All right, so there you have it. The last thing I did was that little symbol because they were each developed in a different part of the laboratory on the base because the professor could not oversee everybody, every animal, because everything was on a time limit. As I said, they only had enough material, if I said it, to keep 100,000 people frozen for a year. So they had to take care of what they had to take care of in a timely fashion. So each one was developed in a different part of the lab. So each one will have different complications when stuff starts going bad, and they all have these dog collars on them. That's what keeps the heads and organs and so forth locked in place. So yeah, and that would probably be their weakness if the dog collar comes off, but that's one of the strongest parts on them. His horns are made of metal, the same metal his body is. And I think that's going to be it for this. I mean, I could keep going and add more detail and more detail and more detail, but at this point, I would end up coloring it because, as I say, color can make or break. A lot of times if you got a good color, it make them. Am I an inker? Am I an inker? I would say no, I'm not an inker. I can ink. I can follow your steps. I can ink. But inkers see things differently than we do. They see a lot of light, shadow, and reflection and so forth. And they have the patience to actually adjust because this is metal. So this should have a shine, that goes through around. Like this one should have a shine too. But see, inkers can do that much better than I can. I would color it and have that shine to it. And what was I going to say? I think I was going to say something else. I talked about that. This is why my videos are so long, because I like to cover stuff. I talked about the book, the advertisement. If you were on Facebook, you saw the fox. This is the fox, and I'll probably end up coloring them. Let me show you this. This is part of the rewards. I color these. These are part of the rewards that you would get if you sign up for that tier. So you get, a mini poster of every animal, all 9 animals. And like I said, those are colored. I color them myself. Maybe I'll flash a picture of the gorilla right here so you can see what you're getting when you invest. This should be, colored too, because that's all, as I said, it's all metal. And this and that. And as I said, inkers see things differently. They think differently than pencilers. Something I should work with as well. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. And I covered the ideas, the materials, the time, the skills, the help, the money, the love of it, the competition, and the advertising, which is the most important thing. If I create a cure for cancer and nobody knows, then how can it get out? So you have to have it. So as I say, sign up for the newsletter. I'll start posting your books that you have or maybe working on when you finish. Contact me and I will post them up on in my books, and I will do some spotlight on the video, same way I did Kingdom Comics Presents. So to help you guys get your stuff out there, because I want to be that next step that you take, or that can be taken to help you succeed. All right, because a lot of other channels are not doing that. Stop it, Brian. Stop it. So that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm going to finish that closed video. Trust me, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish it. All right, that's it. I'm out.